Well, thanks, Patrick. Thanks, everyone, for being here today and listening to my presentation about energy efficiency for small and medium-sized enterprises. My name is Barbara Albert, and I'm the Director of Sustainable Business Consulting. We do carbon and energy work. We help our clients with developing a sustainability strategy, and we also help them with climate change adaptation, identifying risks and managing them. We also do capacity building and training for organizations. And hot off the press, I'm also the co-founder of 100% Renewables, which has the sole mission of getting our clients on the path to 100% renewable energy. So a very exciting new business. We've done lots of work with SMEs, and what has become really apparent to me is that SMEs have got three main problems when it comes to energy. Now, the first problem is probably very well known to all of you, and that's the ever-increasing energy prices. So we're quite used to having cheap energy prices, and we never really paid attention to how much energy costs. But the prices have risen steeply in the last years, and the predictions are that it's going to rise even further. Now, that's a big problem because it adds to the overhead of the businesses, and in the end, it also means that there's less profit for the business. The second problem that there is that energy bills are really complex. I don't know whether any of you has ever looked at energy bills in detail, but they are so complicated. The third problem is that the marketplace nowadays is really educated. So customers expect businesses to do the right thing, and managing energy and keeping a cap on the energy consumption is vital for showing that they really care for the environment. So if all those problems went away and would be solved, what could the future look like? Well, ideally, you would have to spend less on electricity and natural gas, which increases your profit. Ideally, if you did all the right things, you would understand your energy consumption and be able to control it rather than feeling a bit ambiguous about it. And it would also mean that if you share your success stories well with your customers, that it enhances your reputation in the market, and it will help with your customer acquisition and retention. Now, at the intersection of all that is that your business is going to be more profitable, and that you will have more confidence in managing the business. Now, I recommend, from all the work that we've done, I recommend a 5-step methodology on getting from the problem land to the future where you've got this really beautiful handle on electricity and natural gas. So the 5 steps are quite simple, and they are as such. The first step is to really understand your energy bills. So my recommendation is to get a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, sit down and have a really detailed read of your energy bill, because it's going to take that long initially, because it's complex at first. The second step that you have is to understand where the energy goes in your business. So really having a good look around and see where energy is being consumed. The third step, that's actually really obvious but often overlooked by business owners, is the renegotiation of the tariffs. So I'll go into that in greater detail, but renegotiating the tariff can save you thousands of dollars just with a phone call. The fourth step is to come up with an energy plan. It can be a very simple plan with simple actions that you implement in your business, or it can be a really beautiful, full-on plan. The last and final step is to actually implement all the energy efficiency opportunities and renewable energy opportunities that you've got in your organization. And then if you're really successful, to share that with your customer base, to share that with the market and with the community. So let's have a look at the steps in greater detail. Step number 1, understand your bills. So I teach a course in energy management, and it takes me about an hour to explain electricity bills and natural gas bills, because they're actually quite complicated. They're not uniform across all the retailers. Every bill, depending on the tariff, looks different, and it's kind of hard to make sense of it. So on a simple level, if you want to understand your electricity bills, it would make sense to just Google understand your electricity bill, and lots of pages will come up that explain the situation to you. But apart from Googling the problem, I'm suggesting that there are 3 different levels for getting a good grasp of understanding your bills. So all the slides that are coming up are divided up into basic steps, advanced steps, and the pro steps. So the basic steps are for the people in here, for the business owners that don't have a really good understanding of energy and just get started. Advanced is where you've already done a lot of work and you want to take it a bit further, whereas pro is taking that extra step and going into sustainability leadership. So on a basic level, sit down and have a look at your energy bill. For instance, what kind of tariff are you on? Do you see it split into energy, network, and other? Are you on demand charges? How much are you paying all up? How much are you paying per the kilowatt hour or per the megajoule for the gas? Do you have peak, shoulder, off-peak charges? Do you have a demand charge? Just really look at your bill in detail to find out more information. There are lots of things that could be on your bill, so sometimes you might get confused, but there's always Dr. Google or the energy management course. As a second step, I encourage you to look at where the energy goes. So let's have a look at this room, for instance. If you think about where the energy goes in this room, I reckon a lot of energy would go into the spotlights and all the task lights, the general lighting that we've got in here, a couple of downlights, so that would consume lots of electricity. But what else would consume electricity in this room? The aircon. So especially for clubs, the largest proportion of the energy consumption goes into the air conditioning. So I reckon that if you in your business have an air conditioning solution, a heating or a cooling solution, I reckon that's probably where most of your energy goes. Then you've got lighting, and then you've got your other equipment, like computers, whatever you have in your business. So once you have had this look at what consumes electricity, I recommend doing an actual walkthrough in your business and just to note what consumes electricity. Go, yeah, I've got the lights, I've got the air conditioning, I've got the computers, I've got this, I've got the other. Just make a note of it and a mental note. And then ask yourself the question, does it really need to be on? Could it be turned off? Or does it need to run at night? Is it turned off at night? Is the equipment that I've got energy efficient? How do I know if it's energy efficient? Well, some equipment nowadays has got the Energy Star rating. So the more stars, the more energy efficient the equipment is, and the more dollars you will save. So then, on a pro level, rather than walking around and making a mental note and thinking about when things are running and how often they should run and all those things, you can also engage an energy auditor that does all that for you. But if you're keen and you want to take it to that really extra step, you would come up with an asset register. So you would list everything that's consuming electricity. It's going to take a while because there are so many things that consume electricity. It's unbelievable. You list everything in the register, and then you make mention of 2 things. There's only 2 inputs to the equation of energy. It's a question on how long the equipment runs for, how many hours does it run for, and what's the power of the equipment, so how much power is it drawing from the grid. These 2 inputs multiplied together give you the energy consumption. Now if you add everything up, the total of that calculation should roughly equal your energy consumption that's given to you in the bill. But that's a real pro level, and it's going to take you a while to come up with that asset register. But that would be a fantastic way to know where everything is going, because then you know 50% of my energy is going into air conditioning, 30% is going into lighting, 20% is going into equipment. Then you know, because then you can make informed decisions. So at this stage, you're completely in the know. You've figured out your electricity bill. You've figured out where electricity is going in your organization. Now you go and renegotiate your energy tariff. So it amazes me how many businesses are on the default tariff. So we've done so much work in the SME space, and I'm telling you that about 95% at least are on the default tariff. Now, the default tariff is just the most expensive tariff that a retailer offers. You might have entered a contract years ago. That contract has expired, and then the tariff has reverted to the default tariff. It's amazing how much money you can save here by just picking up the phone. So there's a web page called www.energymadeeasy.gov.au. You've got all the information from the previous 2 steps to punch the numbers into that web page and to immediately see what kind of tariff you could get. So say you're on a 32 cents per kilowatt hour tariff, you'll be amazed at how cheap the tariff can get. So just this simple step is saving SMEs thousands of dollars per year. Now, on a pro level, of course, you would take all the savings that you get from the renegotiation of the tariff and put that into the investment of energy efficiency and renewable energy opportunities. You can also, for large energy users, so that whole renegotiation of the bills by entering the details in the energymadeeasy.gov.au webpage only works for small business energy users. So if you're a large energy user, this won't work for you. So for the large ones, I recommend getting an energy broker. They've got the knowledge of the market. They can do it all smoothly for you. It's all being done for you, and you're saving immediately. Now, the 4th step is the energy plan. Now, I mentioned before that the energy plan can be very simple or it can be very elaborate. On a very simple level, I'm recommending to just engage your staff. So if you don't want to come up with a plan, that's fine, but talk to your staff about the equipment that's running. So I mentioned before that the running time really matters of the equipment, and it's the easiest lever you've got for changing your electricity consumption. So say your staff is working or the business is occupied for 8 to 10 hours every day. What happens to the rest of the hours, the other 14 to 16 hours? Does the equipment really need to run? So if you forget to turn off the equipment, it's just going to run for 24 hours straight, day in, day out. But if you're diligent and you talk to staff and you get them to turn off the equipment after they leave, then you're shaving off 2/3 of the consumption. Bang, immediate savings, done. So it's a very cheap way of getting immediate savings. Now then, of course, if you are more advanced, you would really look at your energy efficiency and renewable energy opportunities in detail. You would know how much goes into air conditioning. You would know how much goes into lighting. You would think about all the opportunities you've got to be more energy efficient or to change to solar panels, for instance. So then you put everything in the plan. You get suppliers to give you quotes. You compare the quotes. You think about financing solutions. So with the financing, we've heard the various options. You can either finance it off the balance sheet, you can get a loan, and there's other more innovative solutions in the market. So now you've got the plan. It shouldn't end up in the bottom drawer. So lots of times organizations, bigger ones, they come up with plans and then nothing happens, but not in your case. You're going to implement all the identified energy efficiency and renewable energy opportunities. Now what can you do? So having said that the biggest consumption usually goes into air conditioning, so heating or cooling, this is where you've got the biggest lever. So is it possible at all to change the set point of the air conditioning? Could you possibly change it to 18 degrees in winter and to 24 or 25 degrees in summer? Because one thing I can tell you, the closer the set point of the air conditioning is to the outside temperature, the less energy consumption you will have. In some cases, changing it by 1 degree can save you as much as 8 to 10% of the energy that goes into the air conditioning. Now that's quite a lot of money. So hopefully you can engage your staff such that they will just dress accordingly. So 18 degrees in winter is quite cold, 24, 25 degrees in summer is quite warm. But if you can make, oh, what? Really? I'm over time. Okay, so if you can make those changes, it would be amazing. Regarding the air conditioning, also it would really help if your building was insulated properly and draft-proofed. Also, when you run the air conditioning, it's important to close the doors and close the windows. Because if you don't, you're just sucking in the warm air. It's also important to shade the windows, so you don't want any unnecessary heat gain in summer, you don't want to lose the heat in winter. So properly shade your windows. Now, once you've done the air conditioning, you would move on to the other opportunities. So, for instance, lighting. There have been so many advances with lighting lately. It's amazing. So the business case for lighting is looking so attractive, you wouldn't believe it. So it's such a good opportunity. Go and talk to suppliers, get quotes for LED replacements, for instance. It's practically a no-brainer. It's going to save you so much money. Once you've done the lighting, you can move on to your other equipment. So have you got power management installed? With the lighting, have you got sensors installed, or could you install them, or timers? These are all really good measures. And finally, how good would it be if you could share your success stories with your customers? So really have beautiful energy efficiency and renewable energy options, implement them in your organization, learn from them, track your consumption, see how it changes your consumption, see what good you're doing for the environment. And then if you're doing really well, why don't you just share your success stories with your customers? Why don't you share it with the community? You might get media coverage. The community will love you for the success you're sharing with them because they might learn from you. You might be an inspiration to them. So share your stories. Now, if that presentation has sparked your interest and you want to find out more, Warringah Council is hosting an energy management training, which is held next year in March. So I will personally teach this course. As you can see, I'm really passionate about energy management. So I would encourage you to come to the course and learn more, because we will go into very great detail about what you've heard just then, and we will teach you everything you need to know to manage energy in your organization. Alternatively, if training is not your cup of tea, you're more than welcome to just hire an energy auditor for your organization, or to just really undertake the steps yourself. So thank you so much for being here today. It's very late, and I really appreciate you being here, so thank you so much. We can take questions, so long as no one stops me. We've got another few minutes, so we've got a roving mic. Leonie is going to come around and pass the mic to you guys. Do ask me questions, so long as no one comes in, we're fine, so far away. Please not everyone at once.
Have you ever considered demand switches to prevent instead of getting the staff to switch off, but to put a demand switch in, so it's...
Oh yeah, like kill switches? Like kill switches where you put lots of equipment on the kill switch and you just switch that off. It's a fantastic solution. It's fantastic, do it. So put the equipment on different power boards, put in switch solutions, essential, it's great. It's a fantastic solution. Also the same with the lights. So for instance, if you've got all the lights on just the one switch, there's not a lot you can do. But if you had them, like if all those lights were on one switch, it would be bad. But if we put them on separate switches, we could really control the level of lighting in here. So kill switches definitely, and putting them on boards together that you can kill and switch off at night, perfect. Really good. And standby power, so standby power can consume up to 10% in the electricity consumption. So it's a lot that goes just into standby power equipment that's not really on, but waiting to be put on. So yeah, so great solution.
Hi, I just want to know, you talk a lot about the small to medium-sized businesses. Do you and your company deal with a lot of large corporate companies also?
Yes, we do.
And in your auditing, how much of that, if any, is focused around the mobile devices that all the company uses, and what kind of moves
You're thinking
making to
about
different
phones, that kind of thing?
phones, tablets, laptops, anything mobile related, because a lot of companies have a lot of them.
Yes. So firstly, we do work lots with large organizations because they can afford it so much better than the smaller ones. And typically we work with smaller organizations through government funding. Secondly, with the mobile devices. So mobile devices, we've got the tablets, we've got the phones, we've got the laptops. One thing that is clear is that laptops consume so much less energy compared to desktops. So that will probably consume 20 watts, whereas a desktop will probably consume 80 watts. So big difference. When it comes to looking at how you can make this more efficient, you would start with an energy balance. So as an energy auditor, you go into an organization, you start listing every single thing that you find, or on a larger scale, if it's a large organization, you would accumulate, and then you look at where the energy goes. So in the case of organizations, you would still find that air conditioning makes up a large part, and lighting makes also up another large part, and then the equipment that's running as in the desktops. So the laptops and the mobile devices wouldn't be a large part, usually. That would change if you were a different company, not like a traditional company, but a company that's based on remote teleworking, for instance, would be a completely different picture. So if you were a teleworking company, you've got employees traveling from home, that's where most of the energy would go because you wouldn't have a physical presence. But if you look at all the energy consumption, it's mostly air conditioning, lighting, and then the rest in there. And when it comes to making that more energy efficient, there's only two levers again. So either you try and reduce the operating hours in however many ways you can. There's lots of ways to engage staff. Don't leave it plugged in because it's still drawing power even though it might be switched off. Or you get more energy efficient laptops, so you can make it a policy that only energy efficient laptops are going to be purchased. So it's only really the two levers, so turning it off where you can. So for instance, when people go to lunch to have power management software that hibernates, the laptop for instance, and to specify energy efficiency and go for energy efficient equipment.
Barbara, thanks very much. That's awesome. Thank you. Round of applause for Barbara.
Thank you.
And I'm sure there's heaps you could discuss. We can take a few questions now just as people are wandering in, but just to let you know, people will be wandering in. And folks who've just come in, if you could grab a seat, you can just maybe ask one or two questions as we're waiting, if that's okay.
Yeah, great. There's lots of government incentives. So from a federal perspective, we used to have a lot. Now we've got a little bit less. Let's talk about state. So there's lots of state incentives. So from a state, you've got two programs that are really worthwhile. The first one is called Sustainability Advantage. And you can sign up, become a member. You pay a membership fee. And then the government, the OEH, Office of Environment and Heritage, sends out consultants to your workplace to help you with implementing a sustainability strategy, taking care of your environmental risks, engaging your stakeholders, engaging your staff, doing carbon management. So there's all different sorts of services available through that program. The other program that's really good is the Energy Efficient Business Program. Now that's an excellent program. It's offering support to businesses that want to undertake an energy audit. It offers support for cogeneration. It offers support for certain industry. It offers training. So often at the March course that Ringer Council is hosting is also being delivered through the Energy Efficient Business Program at the OEH. So there's awesome support available from there. There's also the SKIs, the Energy Efficiency Savings Scheme, which generates SKIs, Energy Saving Certificates. Now for lighting upgrades, HVAC upgrades, you're eligible to get, if the project's done in the right way, you're eligible to get SKIs, which will shorten your payback period for the energy efficiency measure by a lot. So for instance, for lighting upgrades, it's almost a no-brainer because there's additional support from the government through the SKIs. That's on the state level. And then, of course, we have to mention local government. So much action happens at local government level. So in lots of instances, we've had councils approach us to help SMEs in that space, because naturally SMEs don't have that much money to spend on energy auditors or sustainability consultants, so sometimes local government acts as the bridge between the specialist and the organization. And there's other programs on a local level like City Switch, which is being offered by Sydney and North Sydney. Don't think Warringah Council is a member of City Switch. So that's another program where you can get support. And then there's federal stuff. So for instance, the Cole Crawford project was done with the help of the CEFC, the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. And have I forgotten to mention anything else? That's pretty much it. So there is support available on the federal level, but more so on the state level and the local government level.